You're a climate extremist, aren't you, Professor?
Certainly not, Senator.
You are a political extremist, aren't you?
Certainly not, Senator.
On July 9th of 2024, did you tweet the following, quote, "Honestly, the biggest long-term political problem the Democrats have is that they don't know how to talk to low-information morons," close quote.
I don't believe those are my words, Senator. I'd have to be able to see them if you would share that with me.
Yeah, here it is, big as Dallas.
Welcome back to Founding Voice America, where we don't cower before elites, we don't take orders from unelected bureaucrats, and we sure as hell don't let coastal academics lecture us on how to live our lives. Folks, buckle up, because today, we're diving deep into a Senate hearing that shows us exactly what's wrong with the current climate narrative, the academic elite, and the dangerous hypocrisy driving policies that could destroy your home, your livelihood, and the very foundation of this country. I just watched a Senate exchange between Senator John Kennedy from Louisiana and a so-called housing and insurance expert, Dr. Keys, or Professor Keys, whatever he prefers, and I have to say, this thing was a clinic in elite arrogance, scientific cherry-picking, and the intellectual rot infecting our so-called experts. Let's break it down. Are you clairvoyant? Classic Kennedy. And no, he's not. And guess what? None of these climate doomsday prophets are. But that hasn't stopped them from marching into the halls of Congress with graphs, models, and apocalyptic language to scare you out of your home, your insurance, and your freedom. Dr. Keys admitted it. His predictions about climate change wrecking the insurance and housing markets are based on models. And like Senator Kennedy rightly pointed out, if those models are wrong, then the whole house of cards comes crashing down. Let me remind you, these are the same kinds of models that told us sea levels would swallow Florida by 2020. Spoiler alert, they didn't. They told us we'd be seeing year-round hurricanes. Instead, we're watching climate alarmists get blown away by data that doesn't fit their narrative. And then it gets hilarious. Senator Kennedy pulls out a curveball. He brings up a recent study about methanol, an aerosol gas that's naturally produced by ocean plankton that actually cools the earth. That's right, cools it. Suddenly, Dr. Keys, this expert who feels comfortable predicting the end of the insurance market due to global warming, turns into a deer in headlights. He doesn't want to talk about cooling effects. He doesn't want to talk about aerosol gases. No. He's here to talk about insurance.
And that takes to Senator Kennedy of Louisiana.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Dr. Keys, Professor Keys, are you clairvoyant?
Thanks for the question, Senator. No, I'm not.
I'm not either. So when you make predictions, these are my words, not yours. When you make predictions that climate change is going to destroy home ownership and the insurance market and otherwise cause the earth to spin off its axis, those predictions are made on the basis of climate models, is that right?
The forward-looking forecasts are based on models. My discussion was retrospective and focused on the data we've collected over the last 5 years.
If those models are wrong, then your predictions would be impacted, wouldn't they?
Senator, I would say that the famous quote is that all models are wrong, but some are useful. And in this case, there's a preponderance of evidence that suggests the direction that climate's headed.
Methanethiol?
I'm not aware of that term, Senator.
I'm surprised. I've read a lot of your writings. You seem to fancy yourself as a climate expert.
Senator, I'm an expert on housing markets, mortgage markets, and insurance markets. I'm not a climate scientist.
If I told you that methanethiol is a sulfur-based aerosol gas, kind of smells like rotten cabbage, that is produced by microscopic plankton in all of our oceans, which cover 75% of the Earth's surface. Would you have reason to disagree with me?
I certainly wouldn't, Senator. I'm here to talk about insurance.
If I told you that this methanol is an aerosol, which escapes into our environment, it oxidizes and produces particles that substantially reflect the sun's radiation and heat and prevents climate change. Would you have a reason to disagree with me?
I wouldn't, Senator. I'm here to talk about the insurance crisis.
I know you don't want to talk about things that undermine your confident assertions, but this is important. The Institute of Marine Sciences and the Cabrera Institute of Physical Chemistry just a few days ago published a startling study. It's being widely reported. And it found that while scientists in these climate change models on which you rely have always known about methanethiol, that now science has discovered ways to better measure it, and that it demonstrates that there's 25% more methanethiol being released into our atmosphere than any scientist ever thought. And that's going to have a huge impact on cooling the Earth, and we're going to have to recalibrate all of our climate change models. I suggest you read it, Doc. I see this essay that you wrote in the New York Times, appropriate, New York Times. Climate change should make you think home ownership. Did you write that?
Yes, I did, Senator.
It's pretty bold. You own a home?
I do, in a flood zone.
Have you sold it?
Have I sold my home?
Yeah.
I live in my home, sir.
Oh, well, you're telling everybody else to sell theirs. You're a climate extremist, aren't you, Professor?
Certainly not, Senator.
You are a political extremist, aren't you?
Certainly not, Senator.
On July 9th of 2024, did you tweet the following, quote, "Honestly, the biggest long-term political problem the Democrats have is that they don't know how to talk to low-information morons," close quote.
I don't believe those are my words, Senator. I'd have to be able to see them if you would share that with me.
Yeah, here it is, big as Dallas.
I don't believe those are my words, Senator.
You tweeted them.
I don't believe that I did.
Yes, you did.
I may have liked someone else's tweet or retweeted someone else's tweet.
Do you
Those
often
are not my words.
like tweets you don't agree with?
Those are not my words, Senator.
Yeah, but you tweeted them in approval, didn't you? You
Those are
can't
not-
make this cat walk backwards, Professor.
Those are
On
not
July
my,
16th,
those are not my words, Senator.
2024, did you tweet the following, quote, "A big part of modern right-wing culture is this frisson of the illicit. The reading of this or that writer or account that are outre in whatever ways, fascists, race IQ obsessives, Holocaust denial adjacent, people with very weird sexual fixations and pathologies they turn into their own philosophy, etc. A lot of them, and I think this is true of Vance, and definitely true of the creepy Silicon Valley MAGA weirdos have simply pickled their brains, end quote.
Again, Senator, those are not my words, and I did not
Tweeted them,
tweet.
Professor.
I did not tweet that, sir. Those are not
Senator
my
Kennedy,
words.
Let me make this last point. You've got
you're more
a lot
than
of
2 minutes
nerve.
over your time. We
You've
have
got
other
a lot of
senators
nerve,
waiting.
Professor, coming
You
here
always go over your time
and,
so that I have to call it
and lecturing
for
us
you.
about Holocaust denial
But
being
really,
from the University of Pennsylvania.
You have other senators who are waiting for their time, and you're well over yours.
Thank you for your indulgence, Mr. Chairman.
Senator Kane.
Funny how these guys are always ready to shout about climate apocalypse when it supports new taxes, regulations, and government control. But as soon as the science gets inconvenient, crickets. You can't have it both ways. If you're going to use climate science to justify policy, then you better be ready to talk about all the science, including the parts that prove you wrong. But it gets worse, folks. Because then we find out that Dr. Keyes wrote an article in the New York Times. How fitting, right? Telling Americans that climate change should make you think about owning a home. Meanwhile, guess what? The man himself owns a home in a flood zone, and he hasn't sold it. How rich is that? He's warning you, middle-class, working Americans, about how climate change is going to make home ownership unstable. But he's sitting comfortably in his own house, in a supposedly high-risk zone, probably sipping fair trade coffee and patting himself on the back for saving the planet. If this doesn't reek of elitist hypocrisy, I don't know what does. And then comes the knockout punch. Senator Kennedy reads off tweets, filthy, hateful stuff, smearing voters as low-information morons, trashing conservatives as fascists and Holocaust denial adjacent. Sick, disgusting slander. And what does this professor say? I didn't tweet that. I might have liked it. Those aren't my words. I can't recall. This is the intellectual cowardice we're dealing with. They spew venom online, surround themselves in liberal academic bubbles, then scurry away when confronted in public. But don't be fooled. These people hold real influence over your life. They write policy briefs. They sit on advisory boards. They influence insurance rates, housing markets, and even how your kids are taught in school. And when you try to hold them accountable, they play dumb. They can't recall. They hide behind their titles and tenure and think they're too smart to be challenged by the likes of us, regular Americans who actually build this country. I'm here to say, enough. Enough with the lies. Enough with the fear-mongering. Enough with the elite hypocrisy. If these people truly believed their climate doomsday prophecies, they'd be selling their homes, moving inland, driving around in solar-powered golf carts and eating bugs in a pod. But they're not. They're flying first class to conferences, buying beachfront property, and telling you to tighten your belt, shut up, and obey. We're not doing that. We at Founding Voice America stand for truth, liberty, and American sovereignty. We believe science should be questioned, not worshipped. We believe experts need oversight, not blind trust. And we believe that the American people, not Ivy League professors, not government bureaucrats, not woke think tanks, should shape the future of this nation. Senator Kennedy stood up and demanded answers. And we salute him for it. We need more leaders willing to confront this madness head-on, willing to ask tough questions, willing to call out hypocrisy, because the stakes are too high. This isn't just about insurance or housing. This is about whether America remains a free country or becomes a nation run by technocrats who hide behind data they can't even defend. We're not going quietly. We're not backing down. And we sure as hell aren't handing over our freedoms because some professor said so in the New York Times. Thank you for watching. If you believe in truth over tyranny, facts over fear, and freedom over falsehoods, smash that like button, subscribe, and share this video with someone who still believes in the American dream. This is Founding Voice America, signing off. God bless you. And God bless the United States of America.